Hi, this is Mrs. T, and this is my 2018-2019 portfolio. I just want to start off with something that kind of was a theme for my entire portfolio. It says some kids are smarter than you, some kids have cooler clothes than you, some kids are better at sports than you, and it doesn't matter. You have your thing too, to be the kid who can get along, to be the kid who is generous, be the kid who is happy for others, be the kid who does the right thing, be the nice kid. And so my main goal started off with just, you don't have to all do it the same. You kind of have to take with who you are and be yourself. And I kind of focused on alternative assessment. So one of my major goals that you'll see here is all about focusing on that alternative assessment. So since we're going to go ahead and save these goals for another time, I'll focus more on that for next year. But I do have my original goals in there, and they will be a continued work in progress. So then I went ahead and we started focusing a lot on the master teacher project. So I have quite a few of Mr. Hurst's observations in here. And so he saw me doing some nutcracker writing. He saw a lot of, there we go. He saw a little bit of math and assessment testing as well. And he came in and he saw us singing and practicing different nursery rhymes and kind of how we start off our day with circle time. And then as for Dr. Paulson, he came in and he got to watch a sight word lesson with spelling and writing. And he also came in and he saw our American musical. And then the master teacher group went ahead and met. We had a nice reflection and talking about how to connect with kids and how to embody lifelong learning. And I felt that I did that by finishing off my master's degree and to connect with kids, like how I start off each year with kids that have hard transitioning and they come in and have breakfast with me to make that a little bit easier. Another big part of helping out different types of learning was working with Mrs. Lear. So you can see here that I went in and I did some observations. I kind of helped her do different techniques that came from Teach Like a Champion and like tracking, not just watching, and engineering efficiency, how to brighten the lines, what's right is right. And so I kind of did some observations to help her come up with some good techniques for kind of cleaning up her classroom management and just lesson planning and such, and that was great peer teaching. And then each year I also do another kind of peer teaching project where I do parent teaching and I do my spelling workshop. And so I had a lot of parents come in and they learned a lot of different techniques on how to help their kids learn sight words and spelling. This kid was so excited about it, he took the tools that I provided and used them at home. This kid went home and made a little "the" poster, which is one of the techniques that I taught also with my spelling workshop. So after doing a self-reflection, I went around and I kind of looked at how I was doing with my knowledge of students, using my resources, student learning. I did a lot of reflection on how do I do respect and rapport, my student management behavior, and overall I hit most of the master teaching proficiencies. I also compared it to last year's reflection that Mr. Hurst gave me, which is right here, and he also agrees that I hit a lot of the mastery. So this is back in May. So I try to look at this of what he saw in me, and I try to continue some of these same things. I try to focus a little bit more on questions to kind of beef that up, and I try to maintain better, accurate records this year. So we'll go ahead and go into the data so we can see that. So this is the Dibbles data that kind of reconfirms the self-evaluation, where I had quite a few reds and yellows and some greens, and in the middle of the year I have a few yellows, a couple of greens, but most of them are above grade level in the blue. You can also see that with their math, and so I feel like the data shows that they've made quite a bit of progress this year. I also went ahead and made copies of my parent surveys, and I'm just going to run through it, but you can see that overall I'm getting a lot of positive feedback from my parents. They feel very welcomed. You can see a lot of positive there. And they feel like I'm great, which makes me feel awesome, and I go beyond expectations. So I could go through all 26, and you'll see, for the most part, that it's pretty positive. They have some pretty good comments here that we'll reflect on. So I feel like overall I have pretty awesome parent communication. I'm trying to meet the needs of my students. They made academic growth, so I'll go ahead and go into the overall reflection. Even though the data shows that I've made some great progress, I felt that this year was pretty intense. It was pretty difficult. As you can see, this is kind of the answers I would get from a lot of my students. Kindergarten testing, tell me a word that rhymes with pig, and I'd get the answer eyeball. So it was kind of a frustrating year when you're looking at just the reflection. I had quite a few really low kids, probably one of the lowest classes I've ever had. And yes, I know kindergarten is low and they're short and tiny, but I meant academically they were pretty low compared to classes in the past. So here's a little quote that comes from the National Institute of Child Health and Human Development. It says, "Early intervention is critical. It is better to go ahead and do this at a younger age than it is later on, because it takes 4 times as long to intervene in 4th grade as it does in kindergarten." So to help with this intervention, I really worked well with my team this year. We did a lot of team planning, field trips to help support our academics. We did a lot of special events. We met a lot and did a lot of RTI. We collected some data. We made sure our classroom environments and instruction had differentiation. We did student self-monitoring. We had a lot of professional development opportunities, and we participated in a lot of school-wide events and programs. And if you want to have a closer look at that, you can go into my portfolio. As additional support, you can see my logs with professional development, my family contact log, my professional contribution log, and my school contribution log also on the portfolio. I wanted to make sure we had a safe environment, so I have my Heart Savior Pediatric First Aid. I have all of the PD that we have taken. I really I thought I stepped up to Imagine Learning, because even though I didn't have any NEP students, I embraced the Imagine Learning with a high LEP student, and I also used that as a whole group instruction with my class and saw that it benefit everybody. I really enjoyed reading the articles. This is one of them that I really enjoyed. So I would like to see that continue. I went ahead and I became a PACE member, my playground supervision, my Heart Saver, my achievement that I've completed sexual harassment, my disease and immunizations. I renewed my Colorado teacher license, and then I have 17 of these simple K-12 things that I've participated in, and if you want to have a deeper look, please check out my portfolio. I also went in and did my first aid, so I've felt like I had a pretty well-rounded professional development to help support those students as well. I think a big part of helping out our students find their own inner strengths is working together as a staff. And so some of the things that I did to help out as a staff is I participated in the Spirit Week of the Twin Day. Here's some of my twins. I also helped Mary Loftus on her Pathways project. I helped Mrs. Chandler and her husband with the Microsoft Day. I also helped Mrs. Gayton get a job here as one of our paras. I encouraged our community to be joined together. They all came together to help me out with Zoila, and so I wanted to make sure that they understood that they are an asset to the community. More pictures on our day. I also supported Mrs. Luna with her figure out which staff member this is, and so I love Spirit Weeks like that. I supported Dash for Cash with PE fundraising. Right here is Constitution Day. I thought that was great, and I love seeing Captain America. And maybe we can have Captain Marvel next time. I'm on quite a few committees. As you can see, I'm on the Behavior RTI Committee, the Character Traits, the Social Committee, the Talent Show Committee. I'm also on the Core Knowledge Committee, so I'll have to add that on there. I also really like supporting our character traits, and here are my character winners and my leaders. As part of the social committee, I helped organize Miss Schmedecke's baby shower. I planned the winter party, the wedding showers that are coming up, and the end of the year party as well. I also encouraged our staff to have a voice in where our winter party location would be. And on the talent show committee, I'm going to be continuing not only to do auditions, but to do practices and help run the show as well. I'm going to go ahead and blaze through a few student artifacts where I focus on just helping build confidence with each child. I also love to encourage just fun activities. So here we are. I think this is Mr. Horseshoe over here. But I like to encourage them to kind of do some of the alternative assessment, to use their own creativity and the standards. They went to 4th grade this year and they helped teach math. We encourage math through project-based building and ideas like our 100-state projects. This guy right here is building the Eiffel Tower. I encouraged a lot of individuality so that they could be the nice kid, the cool kid, could show their individuality. They became teachers this year. They were the ones that taught each other their math. They were the leaders. Here's this little girl here being the teacher, making sure that they're following hallway expectations. Brought in a lot of parent volunteers. They made Stonehenge right here. I did a lot more show and tell to give student voice. Here this guy is learning about Antarctica, and so he showed Antarctica by the way that we dress rather than just on a paper pencil test. So I wanted to give my kids a lot of leadership opportunities. I gave my parents a lot of leadership opportunities to come in and talk this year, and that was my main focus. And I felt like overall I did a pretty good job letting those students have that voice. I have a copy of my overall reflection in the portfolio as well, if you like a deeper look in it, but pretty much it says that I'm trying to get more of a thinking classroom, a problem-solving classroom. I want students that can take information and use it in the real world. I find that my American musical that Dr. Polson was able to observe really helps them gain confidence and provides tools to making connections to the real world to solve problems. And in conclusion, I really want students, all students, EL, IEP, GT, behavior students, all of them, to do their best and when they're ready, and it's my job to give them those tools to get there. It was a little slower in the making this year than in the past, but I'm going to continue to make alternative assessment my goal for next year. And thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my portfolio. Please come and ask me any questions. Have a good day.